Okay guys, it's really important to work out what nuances the couple have on their own without posing anything. And also you want to work out what kind of couple are you dealing with and you're working with. There could be, you know, where you photograph some people and they're a little bit awkward, a little bit clumsy. They could be beautiful, they could be sexy, whatever, gorgeous figures, whatever, but they're sort of just got that awkward touch about them. So what I try to do at almost the start of almost every shoot is I will get a couple together to pose themselves, as in not pose them at all. And I'll show you what this looks like in a moment. Also, I think it's important too that when I talk about posing as a form of communication, how it's purposeful and meaningful, there are going to be some things that a guy or a girl does individually, or a couple, or it could be two guys, two girls, of course, doesn't matter. We want to work out what little things are just simply them. I'll give you an example. So my wife Melissa and I, we walk down the street a certain way. If we were captured the way we walk, and I think we developed the walk after we got married, so it's a bit of a shame, but we have this thing that when we walk, so if you just do that, I basically, and if you can see my hand, Melissa and I walk this way. Why? Because I don't want to waste a hand not touching her as I'm walking, because I just love it. So for me, if I was captured on my wedding day doing that, I'll grow up and really appreciate those photographs were taken. What I'm getting at is that if you pose every single finger, the issue is that I'm never going to really learn those beautiful little subtleties of what makes the couple, how maybe Dylan holds Lisa's face, maybe there's a little way that maybe Lisa touches Dylan's lips before she kisses him. I don't really know. That's what I'm going to work out in Bali, because I've photographed Lisa for so many years. A lot of it's been demonstration, things like that. So for example, on their wedding day, I'm not going to be posing every little finger. I'm going to let them go a little bit, have some fun. Where I need to, I'm going to tweak. And I'm not photographing a model, I'm photographing a couple in love. And that's what you have to work out too. You can practice all day long with models. You can practice with your sister or your best friend, whatever. But when you're photographing a couple, you can't ignore the fact that they're a real couple, they're a human being. And you want to bring out the best in them, but you want to see their personalities too. So although what we're doing is really delving into somewhat the science of posing and the architecture of posing, just don't forget that the personalities have to come out as well. And that's, of course, if you follow my 5-step process, if we talk about light, location, pose, technique, emotion, see, we're talking about posing right now. If you get the posing right, then add the emotion, and the emotion breaks the perfection of the pose. It's in fact that break of perfection that makes that shot look real. Otherwise, everything is mechanical and too perfect. We don't want that. And sometimes we do, but if we can make it look glamorous and natural, which is what I'm teaching you in this entire course, well, now we're talking, and that's also really cool because not many people know how to do that well. Get the beauty of a pose and the natural nature of something candid. Know when to shut the hell up and know when to get involved. So now we've got this beautiful girl here. We've got her handsome fiance just waiting to be photographed, and he'd much rather be doing something else right now. I can just tell that he loves you, so he'll do anything for you and me because we're mates. But I want to show you what I do. Usually one of the first poses I'll do with a bride and a groom is something like this. So let's stand you in the middle again. So Dylan, without thinking about it, I want you to walk up to Lisa, just give her a hug from behind. Don't pose for me, how would you hold her from behind? And Lisa, don't pose, there you go, perfect. All right, so looking at this particular shot right now, first of all, don't change a thing because it's perfect. Looking at this shot, it actually looks like Dylan is giving Lisa the Heimlich maneuver. Like she's just choked on a piece of sushi or something. I wish I had a maneuver named after me. Isn't that really cool? Like, can you imagine Mr. Heimlich right now? Like, oh my God, all these people have been saved because of my maneuver. All right, maybe we can create a Jerry maneuver by the time this course ends. But so what we talk about here right now, guys, is they have built their own house. That's the way I like to think of posing before we add emotion to it. It's architecture. Now, right now, I can't hardly see Dylan. Basically, Lisa looks like she's just waiting for something to do, or she's unemotional because her hands are draping. She's very, very flat-footed. She's just standing with her hips just straight. and there's not much going on. Just for the sake of the argument, put your face on the other side there for me, Dylan. And then now face this camera. Yep. So this needs renovating. So your job as a photographer, in my humble opinion, is why don't you give the couple something to do on their own to see who you're dealing with? As in, are they an emotional couple? Are they soft and have they got a beautiful fun energy? You'll just know which way to go. Like if these guys all of a sudden get into a cute little playful mentality and having some fun and giggling away a little bit, I'm not going to overpose them. I might put them in good light. I might give them a foundation to work from and then let them go. So it really depends on the actual couple. In this case, if we're just talking about a classical, traditional, beautiful portrait and I want to see what they're capable of, well, how would we renovate this? So many of you at home watching this right now, but arguably have built a house and then realized, or renovated a house, pardon me, and then realized that halfway through the renovation, it would have been cheaper and easier on your brain and your physicality to just tear that friggin' house right down and rebuild from scratch because that's easier. As far as posing is concerned, they've built their own house. It's my job to work out now, do we renovate this, as in refine it, or do we tear it down and rebuild from scratch? Let me show you how I would renovate this. So now looking at this particular camera. So first of all, these hands, sometimes when the hands are right on the belly, it can look like she's pregnant or we're covering up the belly. That might be okay because she's plus size. That might be fine. Personally, I like it when the guy will hold the hips of the bride. So do that. Now this hand on his hand is basically saying, I love you. Okay, I love where that hand is. Now, this is a softer energy. I would much rather that than maybe the guy's hands on top. I feel it's a bit softer and more delicate when it's like that. So we're going to relax that shoulder. We're going to turn on a bit of an angle right now. Turn. Beautiful. So now what I'd like you to do, we're going to go back to that foundation pose, Lisa, that we did earlier. Point the toe towards the camera, slide the heel back in, bend the knee, shift your butt away. Perfect. Now, a little bit of dust happening there, but no big deal. I'm going to get you to shuffle your feet right in there, mate. And let me just see what we're looking at from this perspective. So from my camera perspective, for want of a better word, and I would normally say this, is hump in a little bit. Dylan, there we go. Bring your knee in a little bit this way, Dal. This way. That's it. Good. Now, and Dylan, the lower part of your body, bring it a bit closer to hers. Perfect. Now, what we can see here on this part of their body, the hands is dangling down. Nothing's going on. So we need to do something with her hand because if we get a glimpse of her hand from this perspective, that's going to be an issue. So either we just get rid of it completely or we do something with it. Now, we could actually bring the hands over here. For me, if we bring the hands on this side and perhaps if we just turn towards this camera angle over here, we're actually covering up the thinnest part of her waist. And that is a waste of a waist. So either, again, we get rid of it, or we do something with it. It could just simply be that she's just bringing her hand back in, and then he's got his hand on her hip. Even though that we can't see it, he's got his hand on her hip because he just wants to feel that warmth. It'll affect his face the way he's holding his beautiful bride. So in this case, now here's another problem that's going on the upper part of the body. You never want a piece of hair to actually ruin the moment. In other words, dissect the moment. So what you need to do, mate, is I want you to lean forward and bring your temple just beyond hers so that your skin's touching right there. So come closer. Good. Perfect. All right. So now, guys, this again is a bit posy, so we might just bring it right back and get rid of it. This hand's looking really good. Relax that shoulder a little bit. There we go. Now, I often will go up to a bride and a groom and get them to look at my hands. So rather than just mirroring me, they're going to actually mirror what I'm doing with my hands. Just point them down. Perfect. Do you see how they created a beautiful little V there? Very feminine for the bride. We basically said that we bring the chin to the outer shoulder there, and then either eyes back or eyes down. That works. But you see that beautiful V, that little triangle. Triangles are very, very pleasing to the eye. And there is a soft sort of sensibility about that as well. Last minute now, you can sort of see how she softened that pushing of the hip. So I'm going to get them both and then lean towards me. Beautiful. That will also help if you are, again, a more down-to-earth photographer, a shorter photographer. You're getting them to engage you more. So rather than if you're short here and they're tall up here, they're leaning towards you, so their faces are parallel. Remember, if you want to emphasize something, you push it towards the camera and towards the light for that matter. And if you want to de-emphasize it, you push it away from the camera and away from the light. Does that make sense? So what we want to do is just let them go a little bit and then let's see what happens and see if it needs renovating. So we haven't rehearsed this at all, so just relax a little bit. So just totally relax. I want you to face each other. Do you have a particular hug that you guys do? Is there any way that you embrace? Is there something that you guys do? Okay, perfect. Stop there. Stop there. Pause that button. All right, again. Now, why is this an issue? First of all, Lisa, you look ripped right there, like good or bad, depending on what you want. But this looks like he's basically strangling her, which we don't want. And this arm is looking a little bit flat, and it's just looking a little bit awkward. Now, that being said, we don't pose in real life, but when we're being photographed, like hair and makeup, like I said, the bride will get hair and makeup done. She'll wear a beautiful dress. She does not do that, in my humble opinion, just to look like she does every other day of the week. So what we want to do is bring out the best in her, just the way the makeup artist did, just the way the hair artist did, and so on. So if I had to renovate this, I would basically do a few things. First of all, I would bring the arm up like this, bring this arm a little bit lower. This is a problem. Remember, we do not want to cover up the thinnest part of the waist. So he's going to bring his hand to a point where the fingers are just miss. We basically get that silhouette of her body. This hand can go up a little bit higher. We can relax that shoulders a little bit. So what we're doing right now, it's almost suggestive of that we're actually, the chin is on the shoulder or about to whisper in the ear or something like that. In fact, see, even though that you can't see his head, can you see that he looks unemotional? We don't see his face, we don't see the expression, but he looks unemotional. If he simply just brought his chin down here and chin forward, that's it. Bury your head right in properly. Okay, so now we see a little bit of a sliver of his head. If you push him too much and I see no part of his head at all, even if it's a sliver, if we don't see his head, it's just going to look like he's headless. He's done. So chin up a little bit and turn the face this way. That hand there, make sure the ring is looking beautiful. Now, this is a really important point, guys. Watch the legs. It's amazing what a simple direction will do. All I'm going to say right now is this. So, Lisa, if I just said to you, embrace his leg with your leg, as cheesy as that will look, what would that look like? Yep, so it looks a bit cheesy, right? It's a bit humpy, for a better word. For want of a better word. All right, so come back. If I said with your leg, now watch how I say it right now. If I said, I want you to embrace his leg with your leg, but make sure your toe touches the ground. Beautiful. And bend the knee a little bit. Good. Shift your butt away from the camera. Perfect. Now, guys, look at the difference. Let's just turn a little bit this way. Stop there. Perfect. Good. Let's go back. Guys, look at the difference. That's crazy. So now I said to her, I want you to embrace his leg with your leg, but make sure your toe touches the ground. Did you see how she kicked her foot out? Then she laid it down. And then I just needed her to bend it a little bit more. But naturally, she's going to put all her weight on her back leg. Now with his hand, Dylan, your right hand, bring it down a little bit there, mate. And a little bit closer towards you. Good. Now, this pose is great for maybe a plus size girl because she's hiding her arm and a lot of her body underneath. Now the hand is looking a little bit awkward. He's probably too buff. So what I might do is bring your arm underneath her armpit. So switch arms. So yep, bring it right underneath. Now your hand, just bring on his chest or his shoulder. Let's have a look. Okay, perfect. Beautiful. Now his her right hand is popping out of nowhere. There's two things I'll either do. Either, guys, turntable, turn this way, stop. Now, do you see how now I can see her right hand? The problem is that I can hardly see her because his shoulder's covering. First of all, I can just get him to just sink a little bit there for me, Dylan. Just sink a bit. It's like, well, not so much squat, just sort of like let the air out of that pose a little bit. There we go. Now, both of you, upper bodies towards me. Beautiful. Chin up there for me, Lisa. Gorgeous. So now I get that shot. If I find that that right hand's still a bother, either I turn his body or your right hand, Lisa, bring it right out, excuse me, and then hold the back of his head. Bring it up a little bit higher. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Okay, so here's another problem child that we may have. Sometimes girls do this, straight, flat, doesn't really look that nice. So we would just relax the hand, bring it down, and then slide it down. Beautiful. And then arch your back, booty out a little bit. Nice, beautiful curve there. Bending the knees is actually really, really good too. Okay? Now, here's where this comes unstuck a little bit. So just relax a little bit, unravel. Most of the time, guys, is that when a couple are being posed, we may know, hey, I want that beautiful S curve of the bride. We've got the S shape. But then the groom stands straight. When the groom stands straight, literally body weight distributed on his 2 feet, it just doesn't look right. That's why we always put his body weight away from the camera as well. We don't pose like this, we simply just bend that front knee and put that weight on. Usually bring the heel in a little bit. What happens is that energy, so him bending his knee right there, that is almost like an arrow pointing to the girl that he loves. So let's just get into a nice little pose there, nothing fancy. We'll come to these in a moment. Yep, bring that knee out a little bit there for me, beautiful. So watch what happens, turn a little bit this way. Watch what happens, guys, when... Okay, so you see how he's slightly bending his knee? That's a nice, beautiful, traditional pose. Now, bring your legs both straight there for me, Dylan. So, and even bring your feet together like this, sort of straight. Yep. Do you see how that is just straight? And there's a bit of breathing space now between the lower part of their bodies. I personally don't like that. I think that's unemotional. We're emotional with the faces, we're emotional with the hands, but the legs are doing nothing. The legs, both legs now are doing nothing. So what we want to do now is slightly put your weight on your back leg there, mate, and bend that front knee. Good. And now put your knee over his there, darling. Gorgeous. Perfect. And then arch that back. Look at the difference. Now, do you see his left hand popping out at the back there? I don't know if you can see that. His left hand, let's just bring it back. Let's bring it back again so we can see. So, in fact, put your both hands on the waist. Good. Let's show on this camera now. So turn this way. Do you see how he's got both hands on the waist? That's quite a natural thing for a guy to do or want to do. He's just draw a partner in. I'm saying his right hand is fine, but the left hand is hiding the silhouette. So let's bring the left hand right back. Booty out, nice shape. Gorgeous. Both lean towards me. Chins up a little bit. Perfect. So, and it's funny because when we look from this angle, you can sort of see what she's doing. It might feel a little bit awkward, but when you turn them around this way, perfect. Look at the beautiful shape. That's what we want. I've never met a woman who said to me, make me look square and boxy and no shape at all. I mean, that's ridiculous. With this pose, what you want to be careful of is the arm being pressed up against the body. Now, it's not, and here's the reason why. So it's a good way of remembering it. If this hand is too low, that is going to make the arm go nice and close. Well, no, not nice and close. It's going to make it go close to the body, therefore making that arm look flat. We don't want that. So two things. Either he can bring his hand a bit lower, but you remember to relax the shoulder and bring the arm off the body. Now, she might look like she has a chicken wing there. So we just lean there, and this looks less awkward. Now, let's go back, though. If he does bring, organically he brought his hand right here, this gives this arm nowhere to go. Now we have breathing space between her arm and her body, so it's not squished there. Let's talk about hands now. Let's just face this camera now. This is an important one, guys. Hands, if they're flat, so go perfectly flat and fingers together. There is no motion at all with this. Just come back a little bit more this way. A bit more. Keep going. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. A little more forward. A bit more. There we go. So the hand like that, it just doesn't look right. It's flat, even though that might be organically natural and everything, but this doesn't feel right. So what we want to do now is I'll actually even show her. See how your hands like that? Just a bit of air between them and a little bit up. Beautiful. So in other words, here's a way of remembering it. I know this sounds really weird, but just follow along with me. Pretend like a little caterpillar can just go in and out of these fingers. When that can happen, you know it's going to look tender. When it's flat, there's no emotion. So just relax it, a little caterpillar. In Greek, we call it a skuliki. It's an awesome word in Greek. And that's really tender. Remember what we said, that when we did this and this, now this hand will never be straight on an arm. It will be nice and curved. It will never just be straight like this. There'll be a little bit of a curve. Beautiful. Just relax a little bit. Beautiful. It could go like this. I just think there you don't see many fingers. I just like to see a little bit of a curve because it's more emotional. If the hand's on the face, just relax that hand. If the hand's on the face, it would look a lot nicer if there was a little caressing there. Now, here's another thing with hands. You see how our hands were created? We've got the thumb here and got a bit of a gap. That's perfect for the ear. So this hand, the fingers go behind because what you're doing is we're drawing our partner close in for a kiss. So these fingers can do it. When you're like this, it doesn't feel right. And fingers sort of going in ears and stuff like that is a bit awkward. So relax the hand, guide it, and then slide it. Beautiful. Perfect. And that's the way we want to do it. As far as the guy's concerned, don't overpose the guy. He's going to look feminine. A guy would want to draw a partner in. He's going to want to hold the waist and everything like that. If he wants his hand on the back, we can do that, but at least do not cover up the thinnest part of the waist. So if we turn, let's have a look at from this position. So from the camera's position, so turn a bit more this way. Keep turning. Good. Perfect. So you sort of see now how that his left hand on her back actually sort of makes sense. But if he puts it down and covers up the thinnest part of her waist, so just sort of hold it, yeah, just there. You sort of see how we're missing that waist. We're missing that beautiful curve. Why would we do that? Now, in this case now, do you see how her left hand is being hidden? We can't see her hand at all. So it almost looks like amputated. So we want to be careful with that. So what we'll do now is bring the hand down on the chest. So Lisa, that left hand. Yep. And now bring it up a little bit. Actually, this is a good example, or a good example of a bad example. Let me explain. Do you see what the problem with that is? Do you see how her hand is coming out of her elbow? We said that was called foreshortening. So we won't want to do that. We want to bring her hand up, nice and soft, nice and delicate, beautiful. A little bit of air between the fingers and body parts. Or if we want to bring the hand over here, we turn and nice and relaxed. Over here, nice and soft, nice and delicate. Beautiful. Cool. All right, fantastic. Sort of unravel a little bit there. Let's come right nice in the middle there as well. Guys, I want to talk to you now about posing and what I call my phone number technique. So let's talk about a phone number. A phone number is a series of digits combined together that gives everybody a unique number. And of course, you know, there's millions and millions of combinations. Okay, I feel like actually talking like Dr. Evil there for a second, but whenever I say that word, I feel like saying it. So now what I want to do is I want to show you how a simple change of digit can change the destiny of a pose. Let's do this right now. So let's think of the very, very first pose ever invented, and that is hands. So arms, hold the hands together, like actually just like this. Actually, arms around each other's waist. We'll do that first. Yep. And let's do this. So you're holding each other, looking in the camera right there like that. So your shoulders are together. So just cuddle up, same thing we did. Let's ignore the feet for the moment, but let's just assume that this was the very first pose ever invented. Now, this is phone number 1234567. The very first lucky person to get that phone number. That's awesome. Fantastic. But what's the problem here? There's no problem. We just need to change the direction of that pose by simply changing a digit. So whenever you're in front of a couple, a guy or a girl or couple, whatever it may be, and you want to change the destiny of the pose, I want you to think about it. Just change a digit. So watch this. They are looking in the camera. All I'm going to do is just change one digit, being her hand. So this is phone number 1234567, 2345673, 34567, and so on, and so on. And holding your earring, holding your hair, holding the veil, singing, go. All right. So now we have, let's say, 7 or 8 poses. Now, all we have to do now is if he brings his forehead into hers, so just, that's it, look into her. So she stays the same way. Guess what we do? We go here, and 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 here again. So now we've got, 20 poses. If we bring her forehead in and they look into each other's lips, we can do the exact same thing. Make sense? So now it's endless. What you're doing at home and what you're doing on that wedding that you photographed last weekend was photograph the exact same phone number, so to speak. You did the exact same pose, not knowing that one simple digit will change the destiny of how that pose looks and feels. So always remember that. And it's amazing how just some little subtleties can mean all the difference. Also, don't forget, we've often talked about the turntable and how picturing your couple on a turntable will make a huge difference and make everyone look and feel beautiful and give you a different perspective. See, often you will have a second photographer on your wedding day and they will get a better shot than you because they're simply with no pressure walking around the couple and looking great. Now, here's the issue with that though. If we have a direction of light coming this way, the light's falling on the couple beautifully, and then you've got this perfect angle, you take that shot, but the other person's going to be in bad light. So what you want to do is take that first shot, press the pause button, turn them around and keep that pose, and then it's going to look amazing. So let me give you an example of this. So how about I want Lisa, you to pretend like you're whispering in his ear. On the other side. Perfect. Now hold his face. Do what you do naturally, like in that position. If you were whispering in his ear, there we go. Perfect. All right. So let's now refine it. Let's renovate a little bit. I'm going to bring that hand on the back of his head. I'm going to bring that elbow down a little bit. Beautiful. I'm going to get you down to actually embrace his leg with your leg, but make sure your toe touches the ground. He's going to slightly bend. See, he's already done it. It's funny because Dylan, I've photographed once before, but it's been a long time, so he just got straight into it. If you guys come a little bit this way. All right, fantastic. So now we're looking beautiful. She's about to whisper in the ear. So now I take that shot. Great, fantastic. So the thing is that when I photograph and when I pose, I actually want to pose and photograph for the wedding album. It does not make me less of an artist. I actually want to sell what I shoot. So I could overshoot this or take a couple of shots, full length, 3/4 close up, whatever it is. But now I need a shot to go with it. So now pretend I just press the pause button. So I want the pose to be exactly the same. I'm going to turn you around 180 degrees like a turntable. Ready? Keep the pose. Keep turning. Turn, turn, turn. Beautiful. Just like that. Stunning. Now let's go back. So they have not changed their pose. I've simply changed the angle. And why wouldn't we maybe get the groom whispering in her ear? All I've got to do now is shift the weight. So Lisa, I want you to point your right toe towards me now. Embrace his leg with your leg, but make sure you touches the ground. Look at that beautiful shape there again. He slightly bends his left knee, so puts all his weight in his back leg. And now he's whispering in the ear. And if we wanted to just change it, because maybe her hair's in the way and the ear's not visible, he could just simply give her a cute little kiss on the temple. So just do that. There we go, it's making a smile, beautiful. Now we can't see that anymore, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn them a bit more towards us. Perfect, perfect. Makes sense? All right, relax. Shake it out a little bit. Very good, guys. Fantastic. So guys, do you see how that phone number technique can actually help you really, really well? It's just simply slowing down, taking your time, observing what's going on. And sometimes all I do is I just walk around the couple and I see something really different. Now what I want to do, guys, is I want to show you perhaps a traditional portrait that I will do with pretty much every couple. So let's assume the couple just got married. Doesn't really matter what culture, religion, ethnicity. Very much if she's wearing some kind of traditional garb, a dress, or anything else that represents a bride on her wedding day, and she's got flowers, this is pretty much one of the first portraits I'll do with the bride and the groom. So I want you to hold that for a second. So let's talk about a couple of little nuances here, guys. Traditionally, the groom will wear some kind of, I think boutonniere you guys call them in the US. We call them a buttonhole in Australia, which doesn't make sense. You guys win that one. But there's normally a flower of some description here. Here's the issue. If you have a flower here, you might be squishing it depending on the posing that you're doing, and therefore you might be tempted to get the groom on this side. If you have the groom on this side, it's okay, and have the bride turn towards him. The problem is that according to this particular camera angle now, or any camera angle for that matter, see, our eyes read from top left to bottom right. Because our eyes read from top left to bottom right, and certainly in most cultures in terms of reading books and language and stories and things like that and words on a page, we are used to seeing things like that. But even in art, top left to bottom right, there's a beautiful flow. There's a beautiful aesthetic, it's aesthetically beautiful. We love that look and feel. So because the groom is usually taller and the bride's usually shorter, and usually we have the hair coming down and the hair sort of flowing, then that's when I will usually put the groom on that side, even though that there might be a risk that he might be squishing his boutonniere or his flower on his lapel. I personally don't like the flower on the lapel. It's a feminine sensibility, and I get the fact that we might have some flowers here and have the same flower there. I prefer the guy to look cool, sharp, nothing breaking the attention away from that black blue suit or whatever basically he's wearing. But again, that's just a personal opinion. So if we look at this now, if you look at Lisa's hair, I want you, this is a really important one. So if you look at that camera right there, now it's funny, actually, I actually don't know this about you because both sides are really beautiful, but before you disclose to me what your best side is, I'm going to guess. Now, if you look at Lisa, her hair is parted slightly on a part this way. That usually, and there might be an anomaly, and it may happen right now, who knows, but that tells me that she prefers this side of her face. Is that true? Or
yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, that's a great answer. So now, what I'm getting at is that there's two things. This is an anomaly. You have to understand the nuances of what I'm about to say. If I want to get her to turn her face into her man, so to speak, and then get her to look at me in the camera, so let's do that. Do you see how it's sort of obvious that where the hair is parted, how it opens up her face? She's telling me by her hair parted here that she prefers this part of her face. Great. Now, your instinct will sort of tell you the opposite, because if you turn your face more towards me, this hair is interrupting the moment. It just means that you've got to be wary of bringing her hair back and bringing his face beyond her hair so that there's no interruption. But I know that because I'm going to get my couple to just often turn their faces in, this actually makes more sense, where your mind will tell you the opposite. Remember, it's not so much, well, her hair's all bushy right here, therefore I'll get the groom over here. But no, if the bride turns her face this way, yes, her hair can frame her face on this side, but she's often going to turn to a point where the side that she prefers is the other way. I will have no shame, by the way, in asking the bride, hey, do you prefer a side of your face? She'll often tell me what my gut is telling me, that she likes that side. But there's always an anomaly. There's always a girl that may not really be cognizant of it and say, why, what's wrong with my side of my face? What's wrong with it, you know? So you just got to be careful. Okay, let's just go back to the traditional full-length portrait. So I'm going to direct it from here, actually. So let's say your bride and groom are just like that. They're waiting for some direction. I might say, hey guys, just go for a hug. Just go for a hug there, beautiful. All right, now bring your hands down, guys. We're going to do a traditional shot. I want you to guys come a little bit closer. So look at me, guys, for a second. Do you see that little, yep, perfect, and a couple little steps this way? Perfect, just there. Now, guys, what you'll actually feel here is that you may want to do exactly what they're doing. She holds her flowers naturally. He's holding his hands along the waist. There's a problem here. Now, you might say, well, no one's going to know the difference. Well, it doesn't matter if no one knows the difference. A bride will not know the nuances that we're teaching you during this course, but she will know how she feels if we actually bring out the best in her and we make her look and feel beautiful. The problem with this as a traditional pose is that the flowers are unemotional, but that's okay. We're shooting a traditional portrait. We're covering up completely his arm. She's quite flat-footed. We've got a slight bend there. We're covering up the thinnest part of the waist. This being a traditional photograph, one for grandma. We're not trying to save the world. We're not trying to win an award. This is just for grandma, all right? Or this is basically what I look like. We're not trying to show the audience of this photograph who they are. This is just a clean shot of the dress, the suit, and so on. So what we do is this. Point the toe towards the camera, Lisa. Slide the heel back in, bend the knee, shift the butt back. I want to see the detail of the dress. And so this hand, although emotional, it's not the time to basically hold the bride. So she brings her flowers just off the dress. He puts the hand in the pocket. Relax that shoulder. There we go. And relax a little bit more. Beautiful. Just nice and bending there. Beautiful. Let's come back and let's just see if we like that. Guys, that's exactly what I would do. We're showing the bride and the groom full length. We've got a beautiful curve. Do you notice how the flowers are below the thinnest part of her waist? He's got his hand in his pocket. We take that traditional portrait, bang, 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 fantastic. Now, when you're there taking a traditional full-length portrait of the bride and the groom, you can take that. Then you can get them to look off into the distance. Now, here's the thing. What I used to do is say, guys, just look that way. The problem is, even though that they're generally looking in the same area, that what will happen is that they might be looking about 3 feet apart. There's a disconnect. So now what I do is I'll say, look at my hand. Okay, I want you to look there. Then I look in a direction. I'll say, look at the top left corner of that curtain, for example. Great. So now they're looking in the exact same position and I've got that shot. Beautiful. Once I take a traditional full-length portrait of my bride and the groom, then I take a close-up. Now I get his hand out of his pocket. So I take that hand out of the pocket, relax the jacket a little bit in the back. Now both hold the flowers. And just now, this is another thing. Do you see how now they've naturally brought those flowers up, but it's covering up the curvature of her bust? We just bring it below her bust. Good. Too much. Back. Beautiful. Bring it close to you guys. And a bit lower. Gorgeous. Now both of you lean towards me. Chin up. Perfect. So now I take a traditional close-up of them. So let's go to this camera. Beautiful. And there it is. Nothing fancy. Click. I take that shot. Now, that is pretty much your do or die when it comes to the full length of the couple. So we basically are looking at a full length portrait of them and a close-up of them, looking in the camera, smiling. Yes, you can turn this into a kissing on the cheek or the temple or having some fun, whatever, but you're going to have fun later on. This is just what you need, and this is what I call my 2 of my 7 do or die shots. So what are my do or die shots at a bridal party? Well, we just did 2 of them. Full length of the bride and the groom, close-up of the bride and groom, so that's this one. The bride on her own, which we did fictitiously before. The groom on his own, which we did. We do the girls on their own, all the bridesmaids. The boys on their own, all the groomsmen, and then all the bridal party. All looking in the camera, smiling. You might get interactive shots, but do those 7 do or die. And now, if you have more time, you do them over and over again in a different way. In this example, so let's say, for example, she spent an exorbitant amount of money on her dress and all you did was photograph the front of it. She will scratch your eyes out for very good reason. So you want to also do a different kind of a shot of maybe from behind. So all I simply do with you guys now is, in fact, I want you to stay there. I want you to turn your body, so turn that shoulder into here. Yeah, and I want your face out as well, so I want to see your face. Good. Beautiful, and just relax a little bit there. Perfect. And that hand now, I want you to point the toe, bend the knee, and shift the weight back. And now you're slightly out there for me. Perfect. And now turn your face this way, Dylan. Turn your face now left in towards her. Good. And then turn your shoulders a bit more this way. Perfect. Good. So now, guys, let's have a look at that. Now both of you lean your shoulders, your upper bodies towards that camera. Perfect. Now, do you see how we've got a traditional full length of them, but of course the back of the suit's going to look boring. It's just a black or blue suit. In this case now, we've got a beautiful curvature of the butt. The waist is being hidden by his left hand, so let's just bring that hand out of the way. Beautiful. And then chin up a bit there for me, Lisa, and just relax the shoulder a little bit. There we go. Just relax, nice and easy. And now we've got a back shot. Fantastic. That's really, really important too. Okay, so relax that for a second. Now, if you wanted a different kind of a shot with the flowers, and again, I'm not a huge fan of the flowers like I told you because they're a couple now. She's holding the flowers. We've done those traditional shots. I want it to be more emotive. But if you wanted to, this is a couple of variations. I want you to hold your arms over his shoulders. Yep, and just hold her around the waist and give me the point the toe, bend the knee, shift the weight back, and it's like that. See, once the couple get it, they get it. Do me a favor, come back a few little shuffles to me with your feet. Perfect. So now I've got the flowers over here. Now, here's a couple of issues with this kind of a shot. Well, this is okay, but it might be a little bit heavy visually, so I'll let you be the judge of that. This case, I want you to bring her body close, leave no room for Jesus. Okay. Lean upper bodies towards the camera. Good. Now, let's have a look at this shot from this perspective. Okay, so there's a couple of issues that we may have in this particular position. First of all, you can see her right arm interrupt that moment between the bride and the groom. That is just something that you either have to live with or you simply get rid of. So, Lisa, if I told you, hold the flowers with your left hand only, and then point them back towards me. So over the shoulder again though. So bring it right over his shoulder, that's it. So what I want is this. Yep, and this hand, just bring it down where I can't see it. So right down. Whoop, there we go, perfect. So you see how now I do not have that right arm interrupt that moment. Now, let's say I didn't really care about that because they were kissing or doing whatever. Let's bring your hand back around, so your right hand over the shoulder. And let's turn towards this camera so we can see it a bit clearer. Beautiful. So again, now upper body's more towards me. Perfect. Now, do you see how they're practically a profile, but I can't really see their faces? So now I'm going to get their foreheads touching. Turn your faces outwards towards me a little bit. Perfect. Now do you see a bit more what's going on? Guys, do me a favor. Turntable, turn more this way. Stop. Beautiful. Now, we don't want those flowers just interrupting his ear, so they either cover up his ear or not, or you just don't shoot with them. Now, this is where you could easily just turn her face towards me. Turn, 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 turn. So it could be one where he's looking into her body, she's looking in the camera, or she's just looking off over there, giggling a little bit, having some fun. Beautiful. All right, relax. You've often probably seen photographs where the groom holds the flowers. I'm not a big fan of that. That's a personal bias, so I can't tell you not to do that. I'm just suggesting that it looks a bit feminine for a guy to hold the flowers. I get that he might be helping her out and holding the flowers where she's adjusting her dress. Let that happen organically. If that happens and it looks good, shoot it. If it doesn't, then don't. Now, a couple in love, you would say kiss, right? Kissing is a pretty obvious thing to do for a wedding. What I'm suggesting to you guys is that there is a good way and a bad way to do this. So we're going to focus on this one. So come a bit more this way. So here's what happens. If you guys, obviously if that was the camera angle and I was behind that camera, you'd be facing each other, right? And then if I basically said, guys, go for a kiss, what would that look like? Okay, stop there. So when they kiss, I can't really see the kiss that well. So I feel that the kiss really is feminine energy. So you can unkiss. I believe a kiss is a feminine energy. I think it's a very beautiful thing. So I really feel that the bride's face should be on the outside. When people kiss and don't know how to kiss, it's usually when their noses are squishing together. A nose should be either one way or the other. They never should squish right together. So here's what my recommendation is. A good kissing shot is done slightly over the shoulder of the groom. And what happens is, it's funny how you do this naturally. When I asked you to kiss, you actually put your nose on the outside and you hid the kiss. It's almost an animal instinct for a guy to protect what's his and let me hide the kiss. I don't know what it is. But 9 out of 10 times, go back to your folio. If you've already photographed weddings, go back to your folio and you'll be amazed on how many times you've said to the couple, go for a kiss, and the guy's nose on the outside. If you tilt you kiss fairly straight on with a slight angle, but if you kiss like passionately, if you turn your face this way, and then you kiss that way, so just go for a kiss again. Do you see how we can't even see the kiss, right? That's important to know. We want to see the kiss. It's very beautiful. Okay, unkiss. There's a word. I believe that it looks more beautiful when we see the girl's face on the outside. So, Lisa, you're going to tilt this way and that way. Now, even if you do that, so go for a kiss again, I still can't see the kiss. So here's what you do. Okay, relax again. We're going to start over the shoulder of the groom. We're going to turn this way. Good. Now it's slightly over the shoulder. Now we're going to embrace his leg with your leg. Make sure your toe touches the ground. Perfect. And both of you lean towards me. Why? Because he's taller and we're going to be kissing and we do not want the shoulder to interrupt the kiss. He turns his face a bit more left. That's it. And now go for a kiss. That's it. Tilt your face more left there, mate. Other left. There you go. Beautiful. So now we actually see the actual kiss. Beautiful. Now, what's also really beautiful with this kind of thing, guys, is getting them to almost kiss. So go nice and close like you're about to kiss, but don't quite get there. Then what I love to do, and let's just get that right, even though that we're not photographing it, I sort of feel a bit guilty not posing the hands and all that kind of stuff. I want you to go a little bit further away. Here's an important thing. When they are about, give me a few more inches away. Guys, when you're that far apart, look at each other's eyes. It looks creepy, like you get a bit cross-eyed. So just know that, like, when you're a bit further apart, that's okay. When you go to about 6 inches or closer, you naturally would be looking at your partner's lips before you kiss them. So always have your partner look at the partners, look at each other's lips. So they look at the lips, and there's a few shots you can do here. You can either just almost kiss and then start kissing a little bit. You find something funny and you're smiling and touching lips at the same time. Beautiful. And then you can kiss and all that kind of stuff as well. So that's a really good idea. So remember, a good kissing shot is done, starts slightly over the shoulder of the groom. Okay, now let's talk about another good old favorite when it comes to posing, and that is dipping. Dipping, what does dipping mean? You know when you dance and you dip someone? I want to get behind the camera and I'm going to direct this because this is where we normally get it wrong. I will often say, so see how the bride and groom are just waiting for your direction. They're just sitting there waiting. And then I basically say, and we haven't rehearsed this, Dylan has no idea what we're doing right now, but if I just said to you, dip the bride, what would that look like? Okay, great. Great because it was bad. Okay, first of all, the good thing is you knew to put your left leg beyond her so you could dip her and she doesn't die, right? So that was good. But when you dipped her away from the camera, and then all I saw was the lower part of her body towards the camera. Now, luckily, she trusts you, and you've probably just giggled around, had a bit of fun together, so she knows that you wouldn't drop her. But normally, what will happen, I want you to be more awkward now. This is what will happen with the groom, as in turn your feet towards her, hold her around the waist. Don't put your feet, so bring her body close there. Come a little bit this way, a bit more this way, a bit more. Right on that line, and a bit more this way. Perfect. Okay, I want you to sort of dip her, but without putting your foot down. Yep. So it's weird, right? She feels not protected. He's just flat-footed. There's no energy shifting to the girl that he loves. It's like, well, this just looks awkward. So we have to know that the same way that a good kissing shot starts over the shoulder of the groom, a good dipping shot starts over the shoulder of the bride. Because, do you mind if can I dip her? It'll be quicker. Okay, so now if I was to dip her, she's like, it's a bit awkward, whatever. I'll do it from this side actually, it'll be easier. If I go here, if we start over the shoulder of the bride, okay, like this, I bring my right leg beyond hers, she puts her arm around here, then when I dip her, she becomes parallel to the camera. Does that make sense? So she will naturally go. So now also a dipping shot is good when you do it a little bit. So come around here again, over the shoulder of the bride, we start there, and now just dip back. So now she becomes parallel rather than dipping right back. Also, don't go overly overt and then she's just dangling down and she's seen Dancing with the Stars and she's getting overly dramatic on you. That just doesn't look right. So just make sure that you know that that's going to happen. Do it so that his face is close to her face so he's got something to do. Let's do it together now. So Lisa, turn your body that way. Good. All right. So let me direct this from back there to show you how it's possible. So now you're going to bring your right leg beyond hers even more. Perfect. So do you see how now she's just basically, I'm shooting the back of her shoulder, doesn't look that great. Now, her left arm can look a little bit awkward above there like that. She's doing that because she wants to feel protected and not dropped. So Lisa, your left arm, I want you to bring it underneath his armpit, around his back. Good. So he's not going to drop you. Now what I want you to do is bend your right leg and bring it off the ground. That's it. And then bring your heel back into your body. That's it. And a little bit less. It's not too avert, just there. Beautiful. And now, so Dylan, you're like this right now. You're going to just open up. And then, there you go. Perfect. Now lean towards me. Both perfect. Now look into each other. Foreheads touching. Faces out towards me. Stop. Eyes down into each other. Your right hand on his face. Gorgeous. So now they're dipping parallel to me. And that's going to work beautifully. Okay, relax. If she was a plus size bride, let me show you. I'll just make it easier. So if she was a plus size bride, so right now we're basically saying we start over the shoulder of the bride and then we end up dipping parallel, right? This time, if she was plus size, I will bring my leg on this side. She will bring her arm underneath. I hide a little bit of the weight here and then she just dips, turns her face. And then I can kiss the cheek, the shoulder, whatever, leaning in, and that's how you would do it, okay? Really, really important. All right, so how about we do some walking shots? This is a really important one because walking shots is a great way to relax a couple. Everyone feels good doing it. It's just really cool, it's fun, and it's sweet. Now, what mistakes do we have when we actually walk? Here's the issue. When you guys start walking, so get into a walking pose and then come a little bit closer. So we just want to make sure you're in focus with the camera here as well. So if you guys start walking, what will normally happen? Walking shots, most photographers will do with a long lens and you'll normally yell out your direction because you're so far away. So, hey guys, go for a walk. Now, if you go for a walk and if I said, hey guys, go for a walk, what would you do? You start walking fast, right? Okay, go back. So naturally, just your energy and the way you say it, it's going to be that they're going to walk fast. Now, yes, you can focus, recompose and shoot and hope for the best. You can use eye focus and tracking and stuff like that, but sometimes that might be an issue. So what we're going to do now is give them a direction that will solve a few of our problems and issues. And that is going to be, hey, what I want you guys to do is when you walk this pace. Okay? When you walk this pace, when girls walk that pace, you would naturally put one foot in front of the other, would you not? So what we want to do is tell the couples what we're doing. We want to walk slowly and beautifully. And also, you'll notice something here. I want you to bring this right foot forward, that right foot forward. Stop. Now let me come back. Now, do you see with Dylan, even though that it's quite, how do I say, cliche for a model or a girl to walk with one foot in front of the other, I find for a guy, it's the same thing but just not so overt. See how he's walking, even though we've pressed the pause button, the fact that I can see a gap between his legs, it just looks a bit clumsy. Something doesn't look right. So if he brought his foot over a bit more, and then put that back heel up. So in other words, if you wanted to do there you go. If you wanted to do a pose that was stationary, but you wanted to look like he was walking, I would put the weight on his front leg and then bend that leg backwards. Now, so that's an important point just generally. Okay, let's come back for a second. So unravel. When we put both legs forward, so bring both left feet forward. So if I was to ask you guys, where is her energy shifting? You would say, okay, it's to the guy that you love, right? Great. In other words, you're walking this way, my energy is shifting that way to Dylan. Now, when his energy is shifting that way, that means we have an unemotional shot. I'm not saying this can't look emotional. I'm just saying is that it feels nicer when there is harmony with what they're doing. Now, ironically, you might say there is harmony because they're both doing the exact same thing, but not to each other. So if I was to get their both feet forward, like that, for example, I might do an editorial sort of kind of pose. And when I say editorial kind of a pose, I'm saying unemotional, not really telling a story, just cool. So it could be that your hand's in your pocket, which it is, hold your dress like that. And now, in fact, pretend like you're on a turntable and I turn you this way. Bit more, stop. Perfect. Now look over your shoulders this way. Do you see how there's harmony and repetition? Both their left feet are forward and they're both looking off to their left. He could actually look into her. Perfect. She could be chin up, tilt her face, looking at me, giggling. There you go. So now the legs don't bother me because really it wasn't really about the emotion or the energy between them. So I find that this looks a lot nicer when their front legs are forward, especially from this angle. Watch what happens. In fact, before I say this, remember how we said that if you're going to bend the leg that's close to the camera. Same for a guy or a girl. This is the same with this particular pose. Watch what happens when they put their left foot back and their right foot forward in this pose. It just looks awkward. Her dress now has gone wider. There's a gap between his legs. It just doesn't look right. So just know that one leg has to be in front of the other, especially for this kind of an angle. Switch it back so we can see it again. Beautiful. Lean forward a little bit so it gives me the feeling that you're walking. Perfect. Okay, great. Now, so let's finalize that conversation that we're alluding to before. This time, I want that right leg, that left leg forward. Give her your escort arm, mate. So you can hold hands or you can do that. Beautiful. Hold your dress up. So now, if you look at it, he's got his right foot forward, left foot forward. She's pointing to the man she loves. He's pointing to the girl that he loves, because now our energy is shifting beautifully towards each other. Love that. So now let me have a look and see if it works. Now his legs are looking a little bit awkward there. I just feel like he's too far away. So just come closer together, guys. Good. Bring that right foot more forward, mate, and that left foot, just bring it off the back there and bring it closer towards you. So right now you're sort of doing this. Just do it like this. And just relax the knees. And bring your bodies closer together. Yeah, perfect. Good. Now, so if you were walking, let's try this walking now. Okay, well, so just come back a few little shuffles. Okay, come right back to the tip of the other black sort of tile there, a bit further back. Right back. Keep going, all the way back. Okay, great. So unravel. So you could basically, yep, hold the escort arm, come a touch this way. Beautiful. So what I want you to do now, this is what I would do on a wedding day. I'd basically say, guys, I want you to walk at this pace, okay, really slowly. And you're going to start with your outer legs first. Does that make sense? That leg and that leg. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, step. As you step, I want one foot in front of the other. And make sure you're in unison. Now, let's say, for example, guys, that the light was this way. And we'll talk about lighting and how it affects posing soon. But if the light was this way, I might want Lisa to look off to the light. So I'll tell her, look at that tree. Great, she looks at the tree. You're going to basically just talk into her ear and have a laugh. Perfect. And now I don't want this arm straight, I want this bent. So we need to pick up that dress and relax that a little bit. So remember, we're going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, step. And slow. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Click. Go. Go again. That's right. You're a bit tentative. Do it again. So you can walk at a decent pace, but don't stress too much about it. Okay. So remember, one foot in front of the other, nice and slow, out of feet first, and one foot in front of the other. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Click. Go. Click. That's when you click the camera. Go back again. Where you click the camera, let's emulate it, but be stationary. Let's come right over here again. Keep going. Stop there. You are going to take the photograph when you put that front foot forward just off the ground. So switch legs. Dylan, that's it. Yep. So again, it's a bit awkward because we're stationary, but you are going to click the camera there, off, and then you keep on going. Why like this? No different than in sports. Let's say when a sports photographer is photographing football or American football, they are not just going to get the actual couple to They are not going to get that player always holding the ball. It will basically be where the ball is just about to be caught. So you get almost the illusion of motion and that feeling. So remember, it's click, click, and so on. And that's how we do it. So remember, guys, all of the stuff that we're doing right now requires practice. It's not something that you'll just pick up straight away. The cool thing is that with the way I'm teaching you, I'm trying to teach you the street smart of what we're doing, is you might forget everything that I'm saying. When you look at your photographs again, though, you can self-teach. It's no different than being able to... The classic parable is basically giving you fish to eat or teaching you how to fish. I'm teaching you how to fish. I want to be able to use the principles behind what I'm actually showing you to make you understand that all of these things, I can't possibly tell you every scenario, but once you understand the nuances of the foundation of the male pose, the female pose, how we interact, how we kiss, how we dip, how we walk, all these different things, you can apply it in many different ways. But just don't forget to look back at your work and critique yourself, and that's the only way you'll get better, of course. And also, you need to practice not only on a paying gig, you need to practice always before that paying gig, because then it becomes muscle memory, and then on the day, you're totally fine.